Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we have an incredibly spicy one from a regular donor to the channel. This is a Minions deck, named because it has Balthor the Defiled, a 4-mana 2/2 that says minion creatures get +1/+1. You can pay black, black, black and exile it, and then each player returns all black and all red creature cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. We're trying to combo this with Saw in Half, which is a card from the Infinity set, which is new to Magic Online. What this does, destroys a creature. If that creature dies this way, its controller creates 2 tokens that are copies of that creature with their power as half rounded up, basically. So the power and toughness half. So the idea is we split a Balthor and then we make some more guys that pump some minions. Certainly a weird one, a bit of an unconventional approach to playing Magic the Gathering, but I'm here for it. We've got some pretty powerful stuff to go with it though. So we've got ourselves some Chalice of the Void that we're going to be playing on turn 1 off of our Ancient Tombs, which can also fuel our Urza Saga. So you know, we have good cards to go around the fun stuff, which is something that I like to see. We've got Orcish Bowmasters again, another good card. Dauthi Voidwalker, another good card. Opposition Agent. We are running 3 Anje's Ravager. This is something that we can get the Lion's Eye Diamond off of like the Saga or whatever, and then start discarding a bunch of stuff. And then what we're going to be doing is cycling our Oliphaunt, our Troll of Khazad-dûms, and then we're going to bring them all back with Balthor the Defiled. So we're kind of like a bit like Living End almost, where we're going to be using this to bring back a whole bunch of stuff. Because of this, we need a lot of black mana, so Lion's Eye Diamond helps with that. We also have the Chrome Mox, which we can print black cards on, and we've got a lot of black lands. We don't have any mountains. And we've got Urborg to hopefully make that a bit easier too. We have Unlicensed Hearses in the main here alongside the Dauthi Voidwalkers because we want to make sure our opponent isn't bringing anything scary back when we do our Balthor the Defiled stuff. We also have a little Grief package. So again, we've got a lot of good cards around this sort of interesting shell, but the interesting thing we're doing is actually relatively powerful. If we can put in like an Oliphaunt and a Troll of Khazad-dûm, that's pretty good. That's going to beat a lot of people. So I'm certainly down for that. And then we have this other card, which I hadn't really seen before. So you can pay 2 mana as a sorcery to give target creature -3/-3 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. A passable removal spell. It'll kill a Delver. It'll kill a Dragon's Channeler. It'll do stuff. And then on the back side, it's a 7 mana enchantment. Says at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So that can be your opponent's graveyard as well. But what we're aiming to do with this is, when this is on an adventure, we can actually crack Lion's Eye Diamond mana to cast this, which is pretty cool. And once this gets in play, we can bring back the Balthor the Defiled, and then bring back everything else, and kind of go to town that way. So yeah, we've got a bunch of good, strong, powerful plays in our deck. And we're trying to do something a bit fun, but that fun thing, the ceiling on how powerful that is going to be pretty good. We've put the 8 cyclers alongside the lands here. So we only have 16 lands, but 4 Chrome Moxes. I think that might be too low, to be honest. But we're going to play it as is and see how we fare. But that's just something I'm a little concerned about. I think we could probably trim one of these at least and have another land, maybe. But when this deck works, it's going to be great. And I'm hoping that we can showcase that today. Sideboard-wise, we've just got a bunch of good black tools. We've tried to avoid red tools here because we are a base black deck for the most part. Maybe we should have some sort of artifact hate in here. That's the one thing I think we're missing. But things like Chalice can do a lot of work against 8-cast and Storm decks anyway, so we're hoping to ride that instead. So we've got 3 Sheoldred's Edicts because we don't have the most amount of removal spells on our decks, so this will help us on that front. We've got a few more Opposition Agents, again, for like combo-y style decks that select their libraries. Some Graveyard Hate and Faerie Macabre, just to go with our other Graveyard Hate we've got here. We've got Plague Engineer, if somebody's going Y with a lot of little creatures, we want to hit that. Goblin aggro is pretty good now. And then we have a couple of cards for control. So Court of Ambition, if you're unfamiliar with this one, you play it, you become the Monarch. Beginning of your upkeep, opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. If you're the Monarch, they have to discard 2 cards or lose 6 life. So against a deck that might struggle to take the Monarch from you, like a slow grindy control deck, this should hopefully be quite good. And we have Palantír, which is another effect that if we get it in play, we can just generate a lot of card advantage. And this also has some really nice synergy with Balthor the Defiled as well, by putting more stuff in our graveyard. So yeah, that's the deck. I have no idea how this is going to pan out because it's pretty wild territory, but we've had some really interesting ones from this donor, so I'm more than excited to go and see what we can do here. Alright, if you would like a deck of yours on the channel, by all means get in touch via the comment section of the video, or just jump in the Discord and get hold of me there, and we can sort that out for you. Alternatively, become a member of the higher tier on my YouTube membership, and then just drop me a message there and we can sort out your donation decks that way. Alright, without further ado, like and subscribe, and let's play some of this glorious nonsense. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Our opening hand can do Urza Saga stuff from turn 1, or we can pivot into like Opposition Agent or Bowmasters. So I think we're going to give this a go. Saw in Half is also pretty good on a Urza Saga token because you just get 2 copies. Shatter Skull Smashing. Interesting. This is tricky. Shatter Skull Smashing quite often means stuff like mono red prison. And if we get hit by a Blood Moon, we're going to be in trouble here. I think I'm willing to take the gambit here, that they're not going to Blood Moon us on turn 2. They might just be like the Goblin deck. We can cycle for a land anyway. So we're going to have the mana to play on, and if they play Blood Moon, that's not a lot of action at least. City of Traitors, Trinit Sphere. Sure, I think we'll cycle this now. Get ourselves a Badlands. And they can have a Trinisphere. Alright, let's start making as a Saga constructs. Okay, we're going to see a 4-drop here, perhaps? No, sorry. Yeah, 4-drop here. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Okay. This is not something we want to saw in half, that's for sure. So we're going to make a construct here. Going to make another construct, I think. This will give us a 3-3. So they either have to... I'm just trying to think. Probably just want more mana in this situation, right? Or is it the Shadowspear? If we get the Shadowspear, we can't equip it now anyway. If we get a Chrome Mox, we're not playing anything just yet. Is it the Shadowspear? Then we try and race with that. Interesting. So next turn we'll only have 3 mana anyway. So would I rather cast a spell next turn, or would I rather... So the other option we had was to do things differently this turn and try and Virtue of Persistence the -3 on this guy. This is a tough call, I think. If we get the Shadowspear, we're not putting it on anything this turn. Next turn, if we want to put it on anything, it's going to cost us our whole turn. But that might just be better than some of the other plays we have available anyway. Sure, let's get the Shadowspear. Let's attack with this guy. I think they're going to let this through. Oh, they're going to block. Interesting. I was not expecting that. Should play the Badlands out here. Interesting. So our opponent might be able to play a 3-drop or a 4-drop this turn, depending on what lands they have available. We know they have a mountain in hand. Alright, we get to take the initiative in a sec as well. And then we can also saw in half our construct and get more constructs. Okay, so they found a thing that allows them to make a 4-drop. This is another Caves of Chaos Adventurer. That's not so bad. Yep. Not really doing much with that one, I'm afraid. Right, so just going to sort of hold the initiative for a while and get us, it feels. So wherever we cast is probably going to be with Flash, unless we cast this Chalice the Void, which I do not believe we are going to do. So we're going to pass and maybe jam a Bowmasters or an Opposition Agent, depending on what our opponent does with their turn. So they're going into the stash. Means they can cast a 5-drop like a Fury here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Okay. That's fine as their only spell. We can kill that with our Virtue of Persistence in a minute. I think I would rather get this Bowmasters out here. We know they can't cast any spells here due to the mana available. Let's ping them for 1. Dauthi Voidwalker. Right, Locthwain's Scorn. Let's hit this. A card our opponent has never seen before. Let's go attacks. Getting a bit of damage here. We can cycle for another land in a minute as well. Let's get ourselves a swamp. I think we will play this swamp out. We will equip this to our Bowmasters. This means if it shoots something, we gain the life from it as well. And we're in an okay spot here. Our opponent might be able to make 2 spells this turn though. But we'll see how their turn goes. Okay, they decided not to ping anything here. A Fury, you say? Not really where I want to be, is it? So we're going to lose all of our friends. Not really something I want to saw in half either. We are in the Undercity here. We're going to go down the Lost Well. Let's get some scrying done. Balthor the Defiled. I don't think we want this Anje's Ravager. I don't think we want this Balthor given the creature in their graveyard. So we got the Balthor anyway. I see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're mana shy. We can cycle. That doesn't help us out though. I think we are playing the Bowmasters to chump block with and just try and keep in. Right, so I think we cycle this. Gonna get a Badlands. Play the Badlands. This allows us to make a Bowmasters that doesn't care about us losing life, right? So we won't have to tap our our Ancient Tomb. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're getting close to just casting this, but this is beginning of your upkeep. So we kind of need a turn where our opponent's not going to be messing us up. This is going to be a problem, this Faerie Macabre for sure. A Blood Moon, you say? That is an interesting one. It's not the end of the world for us, is it? Alright, so we can saw in half our Bowmasters to kill the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki next turn. It's pretty good. Our Ancient Tomb doesn't hurt us anymore. Our opponent is not casting any more spells this turn. We are not going to let them get the initiative here. We're going to... Oh, okay, interesting. I think some treasure's probably where I want to be here. So if we attack with this token, they block here. We saw in half, so we put 2 counters on this. That's not enough. Okay, so we're definitely sawing in half our Bowmasters here. 1, 2, 3. Ping this down. Ping this down. Okay, I don't hate the spot we're in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have to lose a treasure if we want to cast a spell here. Interesting. We could jam a Dauthi Voidwalker to stop further graveyard shenanigans, and that just gives us a pretty offensive beater. Or we could put the Shadowspear on our Orc Army token. That seems pretty good. Sure, we'll give this a go. Attacks. They can trade a Fury for this if they want to. I suspect they do not, though. So we've got a pretty healthy life total. We have 2 creatures. Obviously, Fury is going to be bad if they have another one, but that's kind of the breaks. Oh, no. Playing this one pretty quickly. Sure, so there's the Fury. Now they have a choice between killing our Orc Army or making sure they get the Monarch. Okay, they really want the Monarch. They really want to kill our guy, sorry. Okay. I will go to blocks. I'll block this Fury. We're going to get Spooky Skeleton this turn. And we're hoping to get into Throne of the Dead 3 and just do something really, really gross. We're not running out of bodies just yet, though, so that's nice. Alright, Spooky Skeleton time. Another chump blocker. Virtue of Persistence. This is a very useful card in this spot. So we can blow up a Fury here. I think we just want to hold and make sure that we get our Throne of the Dead 3. So he's going to sit back on blocks. We can blow up. Oh, this is a sorcery, actually. We need to do this now. Nearly passed through my turn here. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye. And then we'll hold up Opposition Agent just in case we need another blocker. Like if they have a Fury here, we can at least flash us in and block. And then we get to go to Throne of the Dead 3, which should be pretty good for us. If we find a Balthor, we can bring back some stuff, but this is a bit awkward. We have to choose between Spooky Skeleton and Orcish Bowmasters. I think Bowmasters probably gets killed here rather than Spooky Skeleton. The 4 power is nice here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. If we draw a land, we can play this Virtue of Persistence. So I think that's probably better than burning it to make our Opposition Agent right now. We're also going to Throne of the Dead 3, so we're going to find a guy. Well, I hope we do. If we put Balthor the Defiled into play, they get Fury and Caves of Chaos Adventurer here. How much of a problem is that for us? We could put in an Evasive Grief. That's pretty good. So what do we get? We get 2 Bowmasters, so we kill their token. But they would get to Fury our whole board, and that seems pretty bad for us. So it's probably just the Evasive Grief here, right? Makes the moon. Okay, we'll take the guy that's actually a threat. Do we draw a land? We did not draw a land. We could just play a big Troll of Khazad-dûm and have lots of evasive damage next turn. That's probably the smart money. I do kind of want to play the Virtue of Persistence though. We did come here to do that, but maybe we should play in a way that lets us win the game more easily. Alright, let's cast this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here comes the big boy. They can't block our spooky skeleton. So we have 2 threats that are lethal next turn. One of them has hexproof right now. So they're probably going to bin off that Chalice. And Human Spirit Guide. What do they have here? A Caves of Chaos Adventurer. This will take the initiative back from them. So they're going to get a spooky skeleton here. Okay. But they do not have a way to survive. Because 3 creatures have to go under the Troll of Khazad-dûm. Which means they can't block the Grief, which is lethal. And we also have the spooky skeleton, which can attack as well. Alright. Interesting. That worked alright. What do we want here? We didn't see Rabble-masters. We're definitely going to want some edicts. This opposition agent is going to be pretty blank. Do we want a Palantír? I don't think that's what this game is about. I like Plague Engineer just as a creature that at least trades with whatever they're doing for the most part. We haven't seen Rabble-master, but if they have Rabble-master, Plague Engineer is good against that, but it can also just trade into a guy. Chalice, pretty bad in this matchup because they're trying to do similar things. And then that leaves us with 1 cut because we're a 61 card deck to begin with. I think we have to keep an eye on removal here. Against a deck like this, that's a tough call. Are we supposed to... I guess Orcish Bowmasters isn't very strong here. We'll get rid of a Bowmasters. Although Bowmasters gives us 2 bodies to take the initiative actually, so maybe I do like that. Maybe it's one of the Balthors? Because when we found ourselves in a spot to have Balthor, it wasn't worth reanimating because of some of the stuff our opponent had done. So I guess we'll try it with -1 Balthor. Saw in half in on the old Orcish Bowmasters though. Pretty fun times. What does this hand do? This hand plays an unlicensed hearse and then doesn't really do anything after that. I think we can do better. This is not better. This is no manners. Let's mulligan. And there's a Saga hand, I guess. I don't think we can afford these sorts of resources to go away. Alright, they're going to turn 1 Blood Moon us. That would be annoying. There's not turn 1 Blood Moon us. We can turn 1 Saga. If they don't have anything to go... If they don't have a Blood Moon, then our Saga gets to tick up and do stuff. And we can also cycle for a Badlands here. Our opponent's deck is... Actually, we'll probably cycle for a Swamp, actually. Cycle for a Swamp. So our opponent... our deck is not really bad against Blood Moon because we are a red deck. For the most part, we've got lots of these cyclers. But it can certainly be a bit of a doozy at times. Right, there's our Swamp. Next turn, we can ambush this with Bowmasters. Unlicensed hearse. Okay. Our opponent's on the hearse train too. So we can take 2 from the Magas this turn. Opponent's got 3 cards left in hand. A Grief. I don't think we have the resources to pitch to that right now. Yep, you can gobble those up. Rabble-master. It is the Rabble-master. Okay. Yep, in comes Rabble-master. Are they going to send the Magus? They are not sending the Magus. Interesting. We might as well ping this guy and save ourselves 1 point of damage because we are in damage control mode here. Like, we're basically just lose to a Fury, but thems be the breaks sometimes. Let's name Goblin and we'll pass. So we can make them sacrifice a non-token creature. That's not going to be the most exciting, I don't think. They could just animate their hearse and sack that if they wanted to. We can cast this Grief next turn, but it'll put an Urborg into our graveyard to do so. Fury. Okay, so this was the worst case scenario. We lose our board. Whew. Alright. 5 cards. Not looking so hot right now. And they got another hasty threat here. So this is what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're dead next turn. Right. Do we want to do anything differently on the draw? Oh, sorry, on the play. I don't think so. I think our plan here is more or less okay. Maybe we do want the Balthor just for the high roll. Being able to do that. Maybe we'll take an Anje's Ravager out and have a Balthor. Let's find out. What does our hand do? Not the most amount of things, right? We can play a turn 1 Plague Engineer on Goblin, if that's the thing we're interested in doing. I guess playing a turn 1 threat in this matchup is pretty reasonable. Let's play Chrome Mox. I think we'll imprint Balthor. Are we imprinting Balthor? Yes, we are. Goblin, please. And are we playing out this Lion's Eye Diamond right now? I don't really want to play out another artifact into some artifact hate, but we could lose the ability to play it due to Trinisphere. If they play a Trinisphere and we have a creature, that's not necessarily the worst for us. Ancient Tomb, Unlicensed Hearse. Okay. Doesn't do anything right now. And there's a Saga. Don't mind if I do. I think we'll play out the Lion's Eye Diamond here. Go attacks. So if they spend their turn Blood Mooning, we still get to continue beating down whilst they take another 2 damage off their Ancient Tomb. Alright, let's see what they want to do. A Chrome Mox here. If they go into the Undercity, we get to kill this guy. A Blood Moon, you say? I would like to float a mana, please. So instead, we're just going to carry on beating down while they take 2 there. A Chrome Mox. Like, I think our hand is pretty good here for just killing off some guys. That's pretty bad there. Alright. So now we want to... Oh, they didn't eat that at the end of the turn with Licensed Hearse. That was a mistake. We did... Yeah, so now we are hoping to dodge something scary like this guy that's about to hit play. Oh, Fiery Confluence, you say? Fiery Confluence. That's pretty good. They don't have any way of winning the game until they find a creature though, because Unlicensed Hearse needs someone to crew it. Okay, we'll just keep playing these. I wonder if they'll remember to Unlicensed Hearse this turn. Alright. What's our opponent up to this time? Caves of Chaos Adventure. Oakley dokily. This is an interesting one. I don't really want to use Sheoldred's Edict. I think we're just going to Virtue of Persistence this away. The land, don't hate that one for us. Oh, wait a minute. We can't do this unless we put a black card underneath. Right. So we're going to put this Chrome Mox into play, pitch the Sheoldred's Edict, and get rid of the Caves of Chaos Adventure. This gains us a little bit of life, which isn't irrelevant. And 1, 2, 3, 4. We can cast Virtue of Persistence, but they do have an Unlicensed Hearse in play. So, yeah. So they're preemptively removing that now. Maybe at some point we can kill this Unlicensed Hearse. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. You can see here, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Our opponent could have animated the Unlicensed Hearse last turn. I imagine they're probably going to animate it this turn though, now that we're hellbent. No? Interesting. Living in fear of our janky little cards. Interesting. An Oliphaunt. Interesting. We're a long ways off of casting this. We could cycle it 1, 2, 3, 4, and it doesn't really make much of a difference. So let's just do that and get Badlands. Play a Badlands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've cracked this for triple black. Cast this. Okay. So they're probably just going to be unlicensing Hearsing away all of our creatures. But if we can deal with this unlicensed Hearse at some point, then maybe we can get something going. But this Lion's Eye Diamond wasn't going to do anything else. We may as well get the big scary thing in play and hope that we can leverage it somehow. What are we going to see here? Okay, we're probably just losing here. They got Lilia Blade Reforged. They're going to bash us for 5 this turn, drawing an extra card off of the Lilia, getting an extra treasure. Next turn they unlock their Fable. Well, the turn after they unlock their Fable for doing lots of copies. They can copy their tokens, so we're probably dead in a few turns. We just have sort of do nothing stuff going on, like Lion's Eye Diamond and Virtue of Persistence. Like the Virtue of Persistence did kill a guy, so that's fine. Sheoldred's Edict. We get to kill a Lilia here. No, we do it in our opponent's upkeep with the Fable trigger on the stack. I think we want the Lalia gone rather than the Fable. So this will get rid of the Lalia for now, unless they want to activate the Unlicensed Hearse and lose that. But that does not seem like a winning proposition for them. So we've got nothing else here, so we can just F6 through the turn and hope for the best. Right, there's a Skeleton. There's a Reflection. Doesn't quite rhyme with skeleton, does it? Skeleton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. So if they activate their Unlicensed Hearse, that's 6, 7, 8 damage this turn. That would give us a Lilia. Another Magus. Sure. We are not dead this turn anyway, but we're dead the next turn. And I don't think we have anything that can come back here. Oh, so Kenzin. Is this lethal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This puts us to 3? Doesn't seem necessary. If you have us dead on the next turn anyway, but maybe they're worried that we can do something with a certain amount of life. Right, so we'll get back the only creature around. It says a Saga doesn't seem very good. We can't block here, so we may as well attack and see if we find something exciting. I don't believe we're going to find anything exciting enough to get us out of here. Nope. GG's. Welcome to round 2. We're on the play. We can do a little bit of cycling into some Bowmasters. And then into an Urza Saga plan. This seems fine. A little bit too much of the Oliphaunt going on. But we do have a way of bringing them all back. So let's hope we can do that. I'll leave that on a basic swamp because then we're wasteland proof. We can Oliphaunt in our opponent's turn to go and get a land out of our deck. Saprazan's scary. Okay, our opponent's one of those guys. They're probably playing the... Actually, that's not true. They might be playing a Days Undoing style deck. They might be playing the Cascade deck. Right. We'll play this out. And we'll pass a turn. See if we can get anything going with our Orcish Bowmasters here. If they are the Cascade combo deck, we don't really have much recourse for this. Which one is this? Alright. They haven't shown us any red mana yet. Just blue mana. So maybe they're on that, maybe they're on something else. Who knows? They're not holding any stops, so I don't think they're doing anything at instant speed with their deck. I guess we'll play this Badlands. Get a little attack in. We have a board that isn't the worst against wheel effects, if that's what our opponent's up to. But if they just play okay, yeah. So they are very much on the Cascade nonsense plan. What is our solution to this in our deck? Just discard spells, right? Dauthi Voidwalker. Does that do anything here? Not really. Right, let's... We could play out Dauthi Voidwalker now. In case they sort of low roll, maybe. It's bad. It's real bad. Put the Virtue underneath it. Play this out. Jam this guy. Go attacks. Attack them for 5, and then they probably kill us this turn. But if they don't, we might be able to get something out of their graveyard that can win us the game. We just have to hope they somehow have drawn too many copies so they can't combo off. Fully, they just get a little bit of stuff. What are they going to go for? This could be the 7 mana. Is that how much? No, they don't have any green mana, so they can't cast the creature. The rug guy that I can never remember the name of that cascades a bunch. Alright. Here comes the Cascade. Creative technique. What a surprise. I guess we'll cast it. Maybe we can put a bunch of Oliphants into play to block. If we get a Balthor or something. They're not allowing us to... Alright. I was going to say, is there anything weird in here? But the deck literally can't play anything unusual in it, right? Okay, Maelstrom Wanderer. Creatures you control have haste. Not the best for us. Virtue of Persistence. There's no creatures in play, so I guess we just cast the front side, the big side. Aurora Phoenix. So then hit another one. Another Maelstrom Wanderer. A boarding party. Not looking spectacular for us, truth be told. If you haven't seen this deck before, don't worry, not a lot of people play it. It's kind of just like a one-trick pony thing. And it struggles against Wasteland and Blood Moon and any sort of thing that stops you casting multiple spells like Canonists or Deafening Silence. So it kind of gets beaten by a lot of Storm Hate, weirdly. Okay, they do have Emrakul in their deck as well. So how much is this? 10 in the air. And we can block 1. Okay, they just cast the Emrakul now. Sure, I do not believe we can win this matchup. Do not believe we have the tools that beat this matchup. They do not search when they do their combo, so it's not something the opposition agent can do anything about. We literally just have nothing for this matchup. We just have to hope that we can grief them. I don't know if our deck's quick enough to combo them. Yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to do here. And we're just supposed to suck it up and lose. Yeah, it just reveals cards from their library, so it doesn't really do anything there. Like, I guess we just throw it back, and we need something that either has a grief in or can somehow clock on like turn 3. I just don't see that happening really. You know, we got these chalices that are pretty bad as well. Maybe we don't want those, and we'll just have a 3-power creature. And flyer in case we can block with it. Let's try that. And Chalice doesn't really work against our deck because we're not able to cast it for 5. Alright. What does our hand do? This hand cannot win the game by turn 3. Or disrupt our opponent. Okay, this hand can disrupt our opponent. Can it though? So you have to give up something for the Chrome Mox. Right, I think we keep this. And I guess the Hearse goes here. This is tough. Like, we'll play out our only land. We're so odds on to draw a black card. We need to draw a black card in 2 turns. Maybe this can give us some sort of line with a LED that does something broken. We're going to fire the grief off on our 2nd or 3rd turn. I think we put the Dauthi Voidwalker under the Chrome Mox here, because that at least gives us a way in which we can put some pressure down. Like, our opponent doesn't necessarily get to play their deck very much. It kind of just does the thing it does while they're sat there. So if they, through no fault of their own, just end up drawing like not enough lands or all lands and no cascade payoff, then maybe we get there, but no wasteland here is a little bit rough. An Oliphaunt, sure. Okay, we've bricked on the black cards here. Oh, we can't cast that. We're going to cycle this. Get ourselves a Badlands. Play a Badlands. So our opponent shouldn't be able to go off next turn. And then we can get a land and play a grief next turn. A hard cast grief. Chance of that being enough to do anything is very slim. But we might be able to delay them a turn if they only have 1 6-drop. But this matchup is just going to be unwinnable. So basically, the way that this Cascade deck works is it auto wins a bunch of matchups, and it auto loses a bunch of other matchups. And then it's unfavored. It's heavily unfavored in a bunch of other matchups. But there's not a lot of play to it, so that's why you don't see it very much, because people play it once or twice for a bit of fun, and then they kind of put it down. I personally really hate that this deck exists. They're going to get Throes of Chaos immediately. Right, this isn't something that we could grief away anyway. Let's see if that Tablet's Trickery fails. Creative Technique. Alright, doesn't look like it's going to fail. Alright, we get our copy. What does it do? A Chrome Mox. I don't want to cast that. I guess we could have cast it and maybe have some sort of Balthor turn where we can put some creatures into play. Alright, another Tablet's Trickery. An Apex Devastator. That should be lethal enough there. Yeah, we're not winning this one. We might as well pack it up. It's not worth sitting through this. Yeah, I think... I don't know if it's possible for us to win this matchup ever. I think it might be as close to a 0% matchup as possible. We can't interfere with our opponent's lands. They have a lot of redundancy in their mana base. We can't take the things out of their hand because 1 discard spell, 2 discard spell isn't going to be enough to stop them. Even if we delay them a turn, they'll still kill us because what they're doing is faster. Just not a thing we can realistically play against. Let's go to round 3. Our opening hand for game 1 is interesting at this round 3. Like, it kind of does the thing We're on the draw, so we're more likely to draw some mana sources. I think I will keep this. We can turn one Bowmasters, which is quite a strong play. And if we need to, we can fire off these griefs, depending on what we think our opponent's up to. What is our opponent up to? A tropical island. A crashing footfall suspended. Okay, they're one of those guys. I see. This is another matchup that's not the most interactive for us. What is this grief pitching? It's got to be Balthor. I'm sorry, Balthor. Opponent's probably going to spend a minute reading that card thinking, why is this in our opponent's deck? But I believe we're going to do it once today and it's going to be sweet. Elvish Spirit Guide, Hull Breacher, bunch of other stuff. Like Fire Ice is kind of annoying. Let's take that out. Alright, Chrome Mox. You're going to get a grief underneath you, I think. And are we playing out Bowmasters or cycling this troll? And we can do either. We're not playing unlicensed hearse here, that's for sure. This isn't the matchup where we're really going to need the hearse either. Misty Rainforest. We know what their draw for the turn was. I think we cycle this troll. We just want to make sure that we can start activating as a Saga. Short Ice over Badlands. I don't think our opponents... They have Blood Moon in the sideboard, but it's not a main deck thing. So our as a Saga token will tussle with a Hull Breacher. How many turns have we got for this Rhinos? It's got 3 counters on. Okay. You see the Hull Breacher here? No. The Rhinoceroses are impending soon. But we get to complete our Ezra Saga first. We will make more guys. Is this a Chrome Mox? Sorry, is this a Shadowspear? I think it probably is, isn't it? Let's just do the things. Let's get swinging. No, these decks tend to have a lot of bounce spells. So things like Colossal Sky Turtle, Brazen Borrower, stuff like that. Because they need to find spells they can cast underneath. That they can cast for less than 3 mana that have a CMC of higher. So that's the sort of stuff they have. Because they need to make sure they don't hit it with their Cascade Chains. And we're going to see here. Our creatures are bigger than Rhinoceroses next turn then, because we get to play this Unlicensed Hearse, which might force a counterspell from our opponent, to be honest. Right, cycling a Lorien revealed. There's a Volk. Virtue of Persistence. It's not really where we need to be right now, is it? Right, let's cast this first. Can I have an Unlicensed Hearse? Force of Will. Pitching Force of Will. 3 cards in hand and we know what they all are. Back for a bunch. Next turn they get some Rhinoceroses. It's a shame our Virtue of Persistence isn't instant speed, but we can just kill a Rhino and then attack. So, yep, here's some Rhinoceroses. Rhinoceri. Rhinoceroses. One of the two. There's Misty Rainforest, so we know our opponent's hand. Rhinoceroses back on blocks here. They're just going to play out a Spirit Guide or a Hull Breacher here. Let's see what we draw here. A Badlands. Okay. I think we're going to scorn one of these bad boys. I'm going to cast this. I'm going to ping off this little 1/1 Rhinoceros. Kapow. And then we attack with these two. So they block here. There's 3. So they block here. They block here. They take not lethal damage, right? They take 1 off of this. But yeah, we're in a very, very strong position there. So we managed to get one that I was not expecting there. What is useful in this matchup? I guess removing some of their stuff isn't the worst. Chalice of the Void, very good in this matchup on 0. Are we looking at Court of Ambition? I don't think so. I don't mind Sheoldred's Edict, and I don't mind Opposition Agent, because they tend to have a lot of cyclers here. What are we not liking the look of here? I don't think we need Unlicensed Hearse here, so they can go. That gives us 2 Sheoldred's Edicts. Saw in half it on our own stuff is fine. Anje's Ravager. Do I want to cut Anje's Ravager? I haven't really done anything with Anje's Ravager yet. I'm actually inclined to want to keep it and see if we can do something with it now. Playing Engineer on Rhinoceros isn't the worst. I'd just rather have a Sheoldred's Edict. Because we do have to worry about Minsk and Boo as well. This is not a keeper, unfortunately. The Chalice is good, but they almost certainly have a counterspell because their deck runs 8 forces. So we can't just play that and hope for the best. So I think our plan is to mulligan here. and see if we can find a hand with some land. We found a hand with a land. We have a lot of cyclers. We're on the draw. You got to believe sometimes, right? Any land is good. And we do have the Chalice and Oliphaunt. Let's try the Chalice out. Oh, we're just in with it, aren't we? Alright, so this has panned out well for us here. So yeah, we had a bunch of lands and 8 cyclers in there. So we had 23 hits plus Chrome Moxes. So that's, what, 27 hits for mana sources, I believe. That's Mountain Cycle. We don't have a mountain other than Badlands. So we're not going to have a great time versus Force of Will. Blood Moon. Right, we'll play this guy. He's relatively large. Can always sail through and kill a Minskamboo. Well, kill it in conjunction with the 1 ping off of Bowmasters. Right, let's cycling Lorien reveal first so this doesn't go underneath our Voidwalker, because that could be us drawing 3 cards, which would be lovely. Alright, opponent, over to you. Energy Flux. Okay, interesting. We're going to pay to keep this around. We've got a threat on board at least. We can't beat Rhinos with our current configuration, like what we have in play right now. So we're just going to keep paying for our Chalice. I'd like to draw some lands so we can maybe do some other stuff at the same time. Alright, this is towards doing other stuff. We'd love to draw another land next turn so we can play a second Dauthi. And that's going to be the quickest clock that we can access here, I think. Alright, they're petty thefting our Chalice. This means they can make some Rhinoceroses. Are they going to do it at end step? They are. Alright. Violent Outburst. Our Dauthi Voidwalker can make Rhinos as well, if we want to. But we'll give up our Dauthi Voidwalker to do that, and we're not sure it's going to necessarily resolve. Flash 4. We're going to see here. A Blood Moon. Goodbye, Urza Saga. We barely knew ye. 2 cards on our opponent's hand. I'm down for some Rhinos here, I think. Alright. And then we'll cast this. So they can't get any more. And now we're kind of at parity. But they do have a Brazen Borrower kicking around. If we can find a Troll of Khazad-dûm or our Swamp, then we can ping that away. Our opponent is ahead here, for sure. Right, I think we'll just trade these off. They still get the trample damage here, so that's pretty decent. I don't think we can afford to keep this Chalice around. We bought ourselves a turn with it. Of no Rhinoceroses. We don't get to cast any spells in our hand, so... Yep. So they attack us for 4. Next turn, they attack us for another 4, but they'll also have 3 in the air. Is that better than a Brazen Borrower? Right, we're just dead. We don't have the ability to cast any spells. Alright. Do you want to do anything differently here? Maybe you want a Palantír for when we get in those weird situations. Maybe a Virtue of Persistence can go. I don't think Opposition Agent is where I want to be here, is it? Plague Engineers do trade with Rhinos if we get into that awkward situation, but something has to come out for it, right? Maybe it's the Soaring Halves here. Maybe they're a bit weedy. Bowmasters isn't great either. Let's try this. A Discard Spell and a Chalice, but no mana sources. Yuck. We got 24, 25, 26, 27 hits. So we're odds on for drawing 1. And we only need 1 mana source to really get there. Am I really going to keep this? Seems low-key insane, but maybe we do keep this. Go on then. I guess we shot off our own Chrome Moxes with the Chalice actually, so there's only 24 hits. Maybe we should have mulliganed. Right, let's Grief. Pitching a 3-drop. Doesn't really matter which one. The other one's going under the Chrome Mox. What do you got, opponent? Crashing Footfall, Brazen Borrower, Elvish Spirit Guide. Goodbye, Brazen Borrower. Let's play this. Imprint. We can't let them have Brazen Borrower when we're doing that, can we? So let's cast this. Chalice. And pass. No land. We got some hits though. I guess we got all of the cyclers as well. Yeah, I think that is 24 hits. Maybe we're supposed to board out LEDs. Uncertain. Alright, Scalding Tarn into a Tiger. Are they going to suspend Crashing Footfalls? with the means, with ideally hoping to remove our Chalice before it ticks off. Oh, look at that. He's so good at this game. He draws the land. He plays the guy. Kaboom. Let's go. We also have a black mana through Blood Moon as well, which is really important. And they run Blood Moon rather than Magus. They're basically the only deck that runs Blood Moon over Magus of the Moon, I think. Obviously Prism runs both, but... Red. Brotherhood's End. Destroy all artifacts. Yep, that was a pretty good one. Okay. Spirit Guide's gone as well now, as is the Volk. Alright, 2 turns until we get Rhinoceroses in our face. That's a Tarn. I think we're going to see a hard cast Elvish Spirit Guide here. Or a Spoon Spirit Guide. Okay, just going for a Blood Moon. Alright, we're not beating that. There's a Saga. Why you betray me? So the other option that we have is to get the Scalding Tarn back at the cost of our Dauthi Voidwalker. But I don't think that's a good plan. Because playing this Orcish Bowmasters is worse than attacking with this Dauthi Voidwalker. Which can then also make us some Rhinoceroses in a bit. So this will put our opponent to 9. And they're going to make some guys here. Then we attack them to 6. Then they attack us to 12. Then we attack them to 3. Then they attack us to 4. So they will need something to not lose this game. Oh look, our opponent found something to not lose this game. Ah! Alright. We're going to get absolutely minced here. So we can shoot her for just a basic mountain that doesn't do anything. Mountain cycling. Yeah, our deck does not line up well against this. Alright, we've got this sweet mountain here that doesn't tap for black mana. Our opponent did draw quite well to hit that Brotherhood's End. They are just drawing cards. They don't have any way of filtering either, so it's a bit unfortunate for us. But they've got various things in deck that would answer that. What does this do for us? Nothing of interest. Whereas a Saga will go straight to the graveyard, so there's no point playing it. If we could somehow get the mana for Balthor. I don't see how we're going to get black out of nowhere. It's going to put us to 4. Alright. My Kingdom for Engineered Explosives. Oh wow, that's mountain. Yeah, we just got absolutely ruined there. Yeah, seems pretty awkward. Like, our opponent did have to top deck that Brotherhood's End in the course of a few turns, but they also had Brazen Borrower, potentially Energy Flux, not so much, and maybe the... what's it called? The Colossal Sky Turtle to bounce. So they had a selection of options to bounce our thing and get their guy in time. But yeah, the draws of Brotherhood's End into Fire Ice and Blood Moon was pretty good when they're drawing off the top. I think they definitely drew above average that game. Yeah, this was maybe closer than it felt. Because if we could got this Balthor out, then all of a sudden we've got loads of stuff in play. But sadly, we are still searching for that match win. Alright, round 4. I really want to do the thing at some point. You can cycle some stuff, play a Balthor. Then the Lion's Eye Diamond comes off of this and profit. A little bit cold to waste down a Blood Moon in our mostly mono black deck, but such is life sometimes. Alright. Let's get cycling. Alright, we don't even have to play... I think we do play this Swamp out first, not the other Saga. Because that will just take us back a turn for mana on the crucial turn. So we'll start cycling some stuff in a minute. We're going to cycle now in case we draw something like a Bowmasters that we're interested in doing. Let's mountain cycle this one. Our opponent is showing us Bowmasters mana. Sounds like a weird reality show, doesn't it? Bowmasters mana. Anyway, come on, let's have a turn. Looks like they might be thinking about doing an end of turn Bowmasters. Not sure that's a great play. Saw in half. Alright, as a Saga, it's your time to shine. Right, so we can cycle this Troll of Khazad-dûm in a second. Our opponent really not doing anything. There could be like a Doomsday deck or something. We don't have any way of getting an opposition agent to play. Okay, a Tundra. There could be Breakfast. They might just combo us off here and kill us. Okay, Badlands. So we can get some sort of pile of stuff. Alright. It's a Faerie Time Raveler. Let's Swamp Cycle here. Get ourselves a Badlands. Our opponent could be like, I don't know, non-green control? Who knows? I have to imagine they're 5 colour, right? If you're like a sort of slow control-y deck, like they are kind of suggesting they are, then you want to be able to... sorry, let me just think about this turn. Yeah, you want to be able to have access to Uro, I think. So play this, and we're just going to make an Urza Saga construct. Anything else we play will just get bapped by the Teferi. I just bounce it. I'm surprised I didn't bounce our Saga for the tempo play. But maybe because we had the mana open, they're worried. But once Teferi's in play, what are we going to do? The One Ring. Yep, that's a thing. That sure is a thing. Okay, they're going to bounce their own ring. Interesting. That does mean we get to kill the Teferi if we want to right now. Because we can make a 2-2. I think we're just supposed to ride the value off of this while we can. But we will still get the Lion's Eye Diamond here. And what land are we playing here? Doesn't matter what land we play. No. This goes to Teferi. They have protection, but Teferi does not. If something goes weird, we can always just put in this Anje's Ravager, but I don't feel that's where we want to be. Play the Delta. The One Ring. Sure. We've got another Cycler here as well. Yep, have an extra card. I'm surprised they'd Teferi bounced that ring before. I felt a little premature. Let's get some swamp cycling going. Alright. I guess we're not attacking our opponent, but we can play the Orcish Bowmasters. So I don't mind doing that in response to their ring being tapped. Send in the boys. They can hard cast a Force of Will here, but that kind of does their whole turn. Let's ping them for 1. And then we get to ping them for 2. Make a large Gentleman Orc. 3, 6, 7, 3, 6, 9, 10. So if we put Anje's Ravager in, we don't win the game on that swing. A Lion's Eye Diamond. That's a very suspicious card for our opponent's play. Another Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, our opponent's on some spice over here. Alright. We're about to get our world rocked here. Darkridge. What is going on? Our opponent's like this control deck. And then all of a sudden they've just pivoted into a full-on combo deck. I guess we only saw the Teferi. It could be a protection piece. But yeah, I am very confused what our opponent's doing, but I like it. Burning Wish. Is this some sort of Beseech the Mirror One Ring Epic Storm deck? Burning Wish, you say? Sure. Echo of Eons. Bit of a risky one to cast the old Bowmasters in play. Unless they've got Veil of Summer. Infernal Tutor. Unfortunately, cannot play this opposition agent. What is the card they have found? Is it a way to kill our Bowmasters? I'm getting that vibe from our opponent. Oh, it's just a casual Mind's Desire, is it? Alright. A land. A Brainstorm. Another land. An Infernal Tutor. A Lantern Diamond. Teferi. Another Mind's Desire. Okay, this should be all she wrote here, I think. But I'd like to see more of our opponent's deck. It looks pretty cool. I imagine they catch all kinds of people out by playing like a control deck for the first few turns. And then just going, here's all my stuff. Alright, so Storm is very lethal if they have a Tendrils in their deck. Okay, just going for another big Mind's Desire. They want to show us more of their deck. I appreciate that. More tutors, One Ring. Petals, I was expecting to see those. Probably haven't seen any artifact lands yet. Interesting. Maybe they're just looking for a Burning Wish. Maybe they don't actually have a Tendrils in the main deck. Right, just going for another big Mind's Desire. Basically they're gonna exile their entire deck. Okay, this could be a Thassa's Oracle win. Right, there's the Tendrils. Sure. I would like to see more of your deck though. We get to see their entire deck here. It's pretty wild. Alright, so we've just got to fairies and then like storm stuff. Huh. Odd. An interesting one. Alright, Opposition Agent's going to be good against some of their what's it called? Tutors, that's the word I was looking for. Plague Engineer against possible Empty the Warrens is reasonable. Obviously want Chalice. I don't think we're going to have time for sawing things in half necessarily. Although, if we're trying to play our Chalices out, so we're going to want to cut a bunch of these. We'll keep some as targets for Urza Saga, but we're going to have to cut some. And maybe we are cutting the saw in half here. It's probably going to be a little bit... Actually, no, the Unlicensed Hearse feels a bit weak here. Saw in half on a Bowmasters could be like game over at the right time. We could board in Sheoldred's Edict to like kill Teferi, but I don't think that's what this game's about. Core of Ambition is too slow to really matter here. Sure, I'll keep this. We have a 0-drop. Things shut off 0 drops, and then we can go and get the Oliphaunt. The problem is they do just have like a bunch of Teferis in their deck, so they can just bounce the Chalice and win. And they will find them if they get the one ring going. So this just means our opponent can't play the game quickly. That's all it really means. They're gonna have to wait till turn 3. We're gonna have to decide if we want the Bowmasters or the Dauthi Voidwalker next turn. Right, a Chrome Mox from our opponents. Oh, we didn't play out the Chalice. What am I doing? What am I doing? I've lost my mind. I was too busy thinking about what comes next. I didn't do the thing that was in my hand that I kept my hand explicitly for. Wow, this is a real shame conceded for us, I think. And scoring turn. Oh my god. Yeah, we would have just bricked our opponent's entire hand here. Oh, jeez. I was too busy talking about what comes next and everything, and I just... Oh, jeez. That's so embarrassing. Yep. Maybe they'll play around a Pyroblast. That ritual. 1 card left in hand. Echo of Eons. Yikes. Yeah, we should have won this game, I think. This one is on me. Now, we'll probably lose the game 3 if we do win this one. But, we got 2 Trolls, so we don't care if we take one of them. Oh, so very embarrassing. Let's get Badlands. I don't think our opponent's going to be messing with our land here. Okay, so we get a turn, but we don't get to have any of the cool stuff we wanted in play. I think Bowmasters is better on this board. Fire it in now. Tundra from our opponent. And Lion's Eye Diamond. Another 0-drop. You have to see it. Here's the 1 ring. Yep. They get protection, then they can draw, and then we have to ping something. Ping ourselves, grab our guy. A grief that we can't use because our opponent is untargetable. Let's just jam ourselves a Dauthi Voidwalker. This will shut off Echo of Eons lines. And then we pass the turn. Like, the 1 ring should be able to save this game out. Dark Ritual. An Infernal Tutor. They're going to crack the Lion's Eye Diamond. No. For another 1 ring. Interesting. So I'm going to play out the 1 ring, keep the old one, and then draw 2 cards off of it. And that's the correct thing to do here. They're just trying to get the protection here. We can get the 1 ring for ourselves if we want. We'll pay our own guy because it's just going to grow now. I have to make a decision if we'd rather have the 1 ring, or we'd rather have... Would you rather have the 1 ring, or would you rather have Echo of Eons shut off? Echo of Eons isn't the best right now. Infernal Turing isn't going to help us out here. Sure, let's have the 1 ring. Which means we're not dying next turn at least. Alright. Oh, I can't tell you how annoyed I am with myself for that turn 1 play. Or lack of play. I've been doing this for like a year on recording videos now, and so it's certainly not the first, maybe the last time where I'm talking about something in the distance and the stuff right in front of my feet is the one that doesn't happen, you know what I mean? Because when you're trying to commentate and do stuff, you make mistakes, but that is an embarrassing one for sure. Right, so our opponent's drawing some cards. We're making a large gentleman. So we don't know if they have another One Ring in hand. So I take 3 on their turn and go to 10. We have 8 damage. So we do need to apply another threat here. Because we can cycle some stuff out of our deck. Sure, Chrome Mox my opponent. And Lotus Petal 2. Just really show me that we could have stopped all these 0 drops. A Dark Ritual. A Burning Wish. We are immune to stuff this turn because of the One Ring. We're going for it. They go for like Empty the Warren's line, we could blow them out. Peer into the Abyss. Okay, they're drawing a lot of cards. But they can't kill us this turn. Unless they have a way that they can just say, I win the game, like a Thassa's Oracle type situation. Wow. We were very much rewarded for playing wrong. Well, not rewarded for playing wrong. We were rewarded. We made a mistake and we somehow still managed to win that one. So I guess we can write that one off and pretend it never happened. Jesus. I guess we go in again, same as before. Alright, we'll sweep my horrible mistake under the rug, I think. Oh, I think they might have had to go. I don't think they were winning that last game necessarily either. But okay, we have a match win. Feels a little bittersweet because it required our opponent to leave the game. Not great. Let's go to the final round, see if we can get a proper win though. Right, I want to play for the last round. Alright, we can keep this one. If the Bowmasters is going to be good, this matchup is going to be great. I don't think we want to just slam an Anje's Ravager here. I don't think that's really what our deck wants to do most of the time. It's a bit all in for my liking. A Lotus Petal, okay. Another Lotus Petal. An Underground Sea. Are we looking at Doomsday or are we looking at... If this is Doomsday, then we'll kill us on turn 1. With Hallows. Okay, so we're looking at some sort of Storm deck, I think. They had a red mana. Galvanic Relay. Sure. So they're going to have a little relay here. Blade of Summer. Dark Ritual. Burning Wish. Bloodstained Mire. Okay, it's just a little epic Storm action here. Interesting. The Orcish Bowmasters does shut off the Echo line a little bit. Forces them to Veil. And we're going to cast it now so they don't get to Veil for a card. I don't know if we want to show them our Lion's Eye Diamond Chrome Mox here. Then when we get punished if our opponent does an ad nauseam line and then ends up having to pass the turn, but that seems very unlikely. Alright, Bloodstained Mire, they're cracking it. Let's see here. Tiger. Yep, there we go. That gives them all their colours. Dark Ritual. Into Burning Wish, I would imagine. Although we don't know what they got in their hand. There's Dark Ritual. I Beseech the Mirror line. If they've got a Gaia's Will, this is probably lethal, right? Because they go Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Beseech again. Yeah, this is just a clean kill. We can say no to that one. Alright. Alright, this is a matchup where we want to have our Chalice and we want to actually put it into play. That'd be real good. Right, we have these 3 Plague Engineers that are probably going to be pretty useful here. Unlicensed Hearse is not actually that good because it's a face-up trick. So if they see the Unlicensed Hearse, they won't do... They'll just play around it. So I don't really want that. I guess we're boarding these. We're probably going to board out some of these again. I know that kind of makes our mana a little bit awkward sometimes, but I think that's still okay. We'll have a couple of Faerie Macabres to try and mess with some of their graveyard lines, like that last one. Although they probably could have Burning Wish their way through it anyway. But if they had one where they're required to try and play that card again. Oh, actually, no, we get a third Faerie Macabre, don't we? Right. This hand is lacking a black mana. We have got 24 hits. Can we keep this one? It's a very good hand. If we find a black mana or a cycler. I think we need to keep a hand that makes it so we don't die, and that's what this hand does. And if we find some mana sources, we can win the game. But maybe this is a very silly thing to do. Let's play the tomb. Let's play this on 0. And I think we try and grief them now. You take things like Brainstorm at this point before they have a chance to shuffle. Alright, Brainstorm is the card that I wanted to take here. So we will take that Brainstorm. So they can do a Beseech line with a Guy's Will, but we can kind of stop that. We are not going to be dying on turn 1. I don't believe we're going to be dying on turn 2 either. If we can find any cycler or a land. Yeah, sure. It's a land. I'll take it. We have a win condition. If we'd have drawn these the other way around, it would have been a great hand, to be honest. Play out your Volk. There it is. Another Ancient Tomb. Okay. I'll play it. A Brainstorm. That's a good one. I think we're getting Chrome Mox so we can imprint our Balthor and put in an Orcish Bowmasters. They can use Beseech the Mirror just as a tutor, by the way, which is not always amazing for us right there. Diabolic Tutor, not so great. But it can sometimes still be good enough. Alright, let's make a guy. Let's go to our turn. Oh, they're cracking in our upkeep. That's interesting. Okay, that might just be in fear of Opposition Agent. Right. Let's make Construct. Let's get this one of Chrome Mox. Let's imprint Balthor the Defiled. Let's do some attacking. Just take some more damage. And play Bowmasters. They have a Veil here that they get to cycle. They do not. Excellent. So next turn we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage. I'm just get a Black Source and just cast a Beseech the Mirror. Actually, can they get Black Source? I imagine they have to. They've got Badlands in there, surely. Right, they're cracking the Misty Rainforest. A Tiger, okay. So this is not a Beseech the Mirror turn. Right, Storm 1. Is that Ritual? Right, they're casting this for the purposes of Storm. They're casting this for the purposes of Storm. They're casting Beseech the Mirror. So our Faerie Macabre might actually blow our opponent out in a big way here. Huh. They couldn't bargain it, could they? Interesting. Oh, they couldn't do the Will line, actually, because you got the Chalice, right? Yeah. That was interesting. Okay, let's play this Shadowspear. This should give us lethal, I think, right? Equip this. Here it's worth 1 damage. And then we cast this guy. That should be lethal. Alright. Yes, this is already lethal anyway, right? Sure. Okay. I think we want these opposition agents, don't we? I think we should have had those in before. Okay, Anje's Ravagers can become Oppo agents. Yeah, we definitely should have had those in before. That's my bad. Alright. Let's see how we fare. This is not what I would describe as a lot of mana. It does stop them from killing us turn 1. But we don't ever get to play the game like this. So. Alright, this hand does the things we want here. So we keep this. And are we Troll Cycling? Troll Cycling is probably better than having this Badlands in hand. So we get rid of this. We get rid of this. So we have Grief and Faerie Macabre. And this way we still get our second land, but we put a creature in the graveyard which can be relevant. Mishra's Bauble. There it is. This feels like a Galvanic Relay turn already. My spider sense is tingling. Alright, maybe not. Maybe it's just a clean Beseech line. And then we get to win with Faerie Macabre. Let's see what they put into play here. What they cast. Alright, we will exile their Beseech and one of... Do you want to take their starting mana? Or do you want to take their Dark Ritual? Because they already have the black floating. If we take the Lotus Petal, they won't have another artifact. I think we take the Lotus Petal here. Alright, so they can cast the Bauble again. And they can cast the Rituals. I don't know if they will cast the Rituals. Alright. Okay with how that's panned out for us. I don't think they should have fired that Bauble off then either, though. What are we pitching here? We're pitching the Grief. Or is our plan to opposition agent them? Like, we're definitely cycling this. Are we griefing them? We're definitely griefing them. Are we going to pitch this and maybe try and draw Opposition Agent? I think so. Like, we've got some draws that put the Opposition Agent into play. Tendrils of Agony, Rite of Flame, Song of Creation. Okay, we're going to take the Song here. That's a pretty big payoff. We're just going to cycle this now so we can just F6 and save our time. Swamp cycles. Let's get ourselves a Badlands. So, if we can find a land, we can put this Opposition Agent. That's going to shut off all their fetch lands. And that could be game. If we find an Ancient Tomb here. Okay, we didn't find Ancient Tomb. We did find a useful card to play. Can we find a land and bury them with this Oppo Agent? We cannot. Interesting. We have a threat now. I'm going to try and have one more turn to try and draw this Oppo Agent. Otherwise, we're probably going to have to pitch it to a grief, I think. Our opponent is building up some resources over there. Alright, we don't need to do that now. We can just go Chalice for 0 here. And now the plan is to get the Opposition Agent going and shut off their lands. Alright. Alright, let's just have a peek at the hand. Burning Wish, Dark Ritual, Rite of Flame, Rite of Flame. I'm going to take here. Is it the Wish? It's probably the Wish. A Lion's Eye Diamond of our very own. Not really the one there, is it? Found a Tiger. I'd love to find another Chalice. We drew a deck card. Okay. Now, they don't have access to black mana right now, which is what's keeping us in the game. Alright, they have access to black mana now. They can do a pretty sizable Tendrils to stay alive. Yep, so there goes the Bauble. So if we'd have found the mana for this Opposition Agent, then we'd have been laughing here. That was our plan. Rite of Flame. This will go into the exile rather than into the graveyard. So it won't make the most amount of mana. So they can do a mini Tendrils here, right? But they can't do... So they bought themselves some time here. Not sure any of those cards in exile help us. Well, if we need to, we can play out our 0 drops and do a little Tendrils that way. Alright, a Chalice on 1. Alright. Our opponent's now got some mana underneath them though. I don't want our opponent to know how much time they have left here. What is this? An Abrupt Decay, you say? Okay. One card in our opponent's hand. Got Surprise Opposition Agent, which beats down for the same amount. Alright, here comes the Oppo Agent. Back over to us. Another Oppo Agent. Excellent. This hits for 3, and then we hit them for 6 next turn. So not quite lethal. We've certainly shut down a bunch of what our opponent can achieve. Right, our opponent's got 1 turn. We could kill our own Opposition Agent to give us slightly more life. But I don't think that's the play I want to make here. Alright, we got the win there. So, we kind of got beaten up most of the league. And we kind of just beat some Storm players with a little bit of luck at the end. In the penultimate round and then in the final round with some powerful sideboard cards. We definitely should have won that other Storm matchup where I was talking too much and misplayed. But anyway, so we got 2-3, which I think is probably a fair result for the deck. I'm very sad we didn't really get to do our thing. We didn't get to do any of the cool stuff we had in the deck, really. And I kept it in. I tried not to board it out as much as possible. But let's talk about this deck. So, in one of the early rounds, we did kind of get to play a bunch of good spells, kill our opponent, do some cool stuff. And that was quite fun. We got to saw in half an Orcish Bowmasters. That was a new and exciting thing to do. That was pretty interesting. But a lot of the time we were just doing Urza Saga stuff, right? And because we're playing all these cyclers, we are skimping a little bit on lands. Now, yeah, we do have the Chrome Moxes to help, but in some matchups we don't really want the Chrome Moxes, like the Storm ones, where we want to put Chalice on 0. So it did feel we were in a bit of trouble there. Virtue of Persistence, we managed to cast the backside once and didn't really do anything because our opponent had our graveyard covered at that point anyway. What I will say is one of the rounds was basically like a wash because it was against the Cascade combo deck, which some might argue isn't necessarily playing Magic. It's just the deck kind of does autopilot on it. But we are never beating that deck, full stop. There is no configuration of our 75 cards here that can ever beat that deck. So I don't really mind losing to that one. I guess if we had like 4 griefs early on or something, maybe we could win that one, but that's a bit of a ridiculous proposition, to be honest. So yeah, so one of the rounds is kind of, you know, no fault of the deck necessarily. It's just one of those things where we're not really going to be able to beat that. So the first thing I'm coming to on this deck list is the Anje's Ravager. So effectively our only red card in the 75. Obviously we have the Oliphaunt, but that's mainly just as a cycler, right? This could be a generous Ent with some different lands if we wanted to, whatever. We're not really playing red for any reason other than the fact that we get red creatures back, actually. Yeah, so this is a red creature, but it's not a red spell. But we are playing Anje's Ravager. Now, this was a card that we had in hand once or twice, but it never really felt like a good thing to be putting into play. Like a 3-mana 3/3 is quite weak for Legacy standards, obviously. And when it comes to doing the Lion's Eye Diamond Anje's Ravager thing, that's a really big all-in play, and we don't really want to do that early on because we want to kind of get our lands underneath us because we're trying to get up to playing things like Balthor. So we want to make sure that we make our land drops first before doing this, which means that even if we do Lion's Eye Diamond in, it's still probably just going to be a 3-mana 3/3. And that's not really going to be good on turn 3. So I'm not really sure this deck should be an Anje's Ravager deck. Now, I understand the dream that you could live here, but I don't think it's... excuse me. I don't think it's where I want to be here. Like, the idea of maybe, like, sawing this in half and attacking and, like, putting a bunch of cards in your graveyard and having a really nice Balthor turn sounds good in practice. But I don't think it's realistically going to get us there. Balthor is certainly interesting. I like the idea of just playing this and cracking the Lion's Eye Diamond and just putting back a whole bunch of stuff into play. And, you know, with the cyclers, that's pretty good. It's kind of like Living End, except Living End puts more power into play and is more reliable. It's obviously easy to hate, and you don't have like the ability to play things like Bowmasters and Dauthi Voidwalker when you're playing Living End, which is obviously a modern deck, but just talking about that deck in general. So you don't get to do that thing. So Balthor is kind of allows you to play it in a shell of just other stuff that are good, whereas Living End requires a very dedicated shell. I do think this Virtue of Persistence is not really good enough. Like 7 mana, like we did get to the 7 mana once, maybe even twice, but waiting till the beginning of your upkeep to do something, like playing 7 mana on a spell that then doesn't do anything straight away, doesn't feel amazing. I think the Balthor's fine. I think we'd rather just play like, I guess we don't have any Patriarch's Bidding shenanigans we can do, which is another way of putting a load of cards in the bin and bringing it back. But we could play Living Death, which is the 5 mana version of Living End, like the original build. So I think Living Death might be more interesting to me than Virtue of Persistence here. Like we can just cycle a bunch of these and then just Living Death everything back into play. Like we can't use Lion's Eye Diamond to help, but we need 4 mana plus Lion's Eye Diamond to cast this from exile anyway, and this gets us 1 creature back and isn't very exciting. This is 4 mana plus Lion's Eye Diamond for Balthor is fine as well. I don't have a problem with that. I think, weirdly, like the Balthor, even though we never got to do it, I think the logic is sound behind what the Balthor's doing. I think the ways you could take this deck to improve it, I think we probably need to get rid of some of the cutesier stuff. And I think we should turn one of these unlicensed Hearse into a Dauthi Voidwalker, because I'm just not really a fan of unlicensed Hearse that much, especially in the main deck, because it requires other stuff to fuel it a little bit, and I just never feels super amazing. So what we could do is we could play more red cards and play Fury. So we have Furies to get back off of Balthor, as well as our Griefs and Troll of Khazad-dûm and Oliphaunt. That would be pretty interesting to me. Now, we need a little bit more fuel for that, but I think we could do that. And then also, we probably want the Living Death, like I said. So let's say these were Living Death, and then these are Fury. Then we've got 2 cards here. So we're probably going to need more red cards. I'm wondering if we should be a Chalice of the Void deck. We could be playing Dark Ritual, or something like that, and then use that to jump up the curve and play stuff. Maybe we don't need opposition main decks. That's another thing that can be like a potential red card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not really enough. I think you need a little bit more to wet the Fury. So maybe we can tweak things. So maybe instead of being like a Chrome Mox Lion's Eye Diamond deck, we could be Living Death. So we get rid of these Urza Sagas as well. Just strip this out. And then we have this package of 11 cards can become some more lands, would probably be helpful. But then we could also have some red cards and some Dark Rituals. And then we can use the Dark Rituals to power out our Balthor and stuff like that. So maybe that's going to be a bit more interesting. And also you could run something like Thoughtseize in here. And it also opens up things like Surgical Extraction as an option too, if we're not trying to win with Chalices. And then I think we have a mana base that's not disappearing as much, which would be quite handy. And we wouldn't necessarily have to lean into colourless mana quite as much. Probably wouldn't need the Urborgs. I guess the Urborgs do help with the Dauthi Voidwalker, but so does the Dark Ritual. So maybe we only need one Urborg. We try something like that. There's probably some good black-red cards we could play that would help both of our pitch casts as well as just being useful. Trying to think what that would be. Like Terminate or Dreadbore are kind of somewhat interesting. But there's probably some good red-black cards that we could play here if we were going down the Fury line. Just playing a bunch of good cards. Maybe we don't need 4 Living Death. Maybe we need like 3 Living Death, 3 Balthor, something like this. Because what Fury also does is if you've got Fury and you bring back stuff with Balthor, you might end up bringing back some of your opponent's cards. But we could then just kill those cards with Balthor. Sorry, with the Fury we're getting off of the Balthor. So that might be quite useful. Also, we could look at perhaps a bit weird, but we could try things like Shriek more, or just cards that have ways of putting themselves in the bin. So we're kind of just building more of like a Living Death, Living End style deck. But the cards we're trying to do, things like Fury, oh, okay, your opponent's got Graveyard Hate. Well, Pitch Custom Fury is still really good in some matchups. And Hard Custom Fury is a pretty reasonable thing to be doing with your time as well. So maybe it could be something like that. We could even have like Burnt Offering, I think it is, where you sack a creature and gain mana equal to its mana cost. So you could evoke a Grief on turn 1 and then use that mana immediately to put Balthor into play. And then the next turn you could like cycle some stuff or whatever with like a ritual and just kind of get some good stuff going. Now obviously we're jumping through a lot of hoops to make this happen. And there is already just scam decks that can do this sort of stuff. And it's really good and solid. So we're kind of trying to do something bigger. So I feel if we're doing this, instead of just being like a deck that's going to bring back a couple of things, we want to really lean into bringing back our whole graveyard. So I think we want to be doing all of our cyclers, our pitchcast elementals, that sort of thing. And I don't think we want to go as far as something like Buried Alive. I think that might be a bit much. But also a problem that we had with the deck a little bit was the lack of removal, and Fury would really help that out. And if we were playing Living Death, that would also help that out. So I definitely think there's a reasonable rebuild to be done on here that I think would be a little bit more well-rounded. I definitely think we got a little bit unfortunate, like especially against that Rhinos matchup where they drew 3 runners in a row after we'd like chaliced and they had their thing ticking down. So we were pretty close to having a good time, right? It wasn't that far away from us winning that one, but obviously the fact they drew 3 runners in a row did make it look like they absolutely buried us towards the end of it. But I think that was a lot closer than it necessarily appeared if you looked at the final screenshot. So yeah, I think I've explained this. I think our sideboard was fine as well. Like we definitely brought in these cards and they did some things, but I think we can definitely improve upon this. And I might have a little tinker with this and sort of do a Living Death deck list and show it to the donor, and maybe play it on the channel. Maybe get some feedback with them. I feel there's something to be said about bringing back a whole bunch of creatures in one go, especially since we got a lot of creatures that put themselves in the bin. So a little deep dive in Gatherer for like channel cards, evoke cards as well, and other cyclers, and see how far into the living death line we can go. Obviously, cyclers, like normal cyclers that just draw you a card, are a little bit sketchy in Bowmaster world. But if we're trying to cast Living Death, we can let their Bowmasters get big anyway. But resolving the Living Death might be tricky, but I guess that's what the grief is for. I do like the Dauthi Voidwalker as a thing that we can do to shut down our opponent's graveyard. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good ideas here. I think it's a case of we're trying a lot of cute stuff out, and there's maybe a little bit too much cute stuff and not enough just like the meat and bones of, you know, Furies and things like that. I did say at the start, you know, we're playing a bunch of good cards around this package, which is true, but I think our package of not so good cards like Virtue of Persistence and the Anje's Ravager were just a bit too much. So yeah, I think I've done a pretty detailed breakdown of this one, and it definitely gets my creative juices going looking at this and thinking about it. So if you've got any ideas, by all means, drop me some comments of ways of fixing this one. And if you just want to write in the comments and mock me for not playing that Chalice on that turn where I wasn't paying enough attention, then by all means do so. I'm more than happy to laugh at myself. God, that's going to annoy me for a while. Even though we won that game, it's still going to annoy me for a while. What a silly misclick, or mispaying attention, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I'll stop being up on myself and sign off now. So thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and get in contact if you want a donation deck yourself. And yeah, goodbye.